So we'll continue our tutorial on ARSCADA. Now we have opened the main menu of the ARSCADA, and to enter a virtual tour, click on the one of the virtual tours. So of course we have configured only one for the sample. Now it displays the floor plan of that particular virtual tour. It has got two uh, um, it has got two scenes. One is for the living area, other is for the kitchen area. This is a fictitious floor plan. And what is shown here is also a home page. If you click, it will go back to the main menu, and this will bring us to the floor plan. And this is showing the status window. We can minimize it or maximize it. And what it shows here is if there are any of the tags which are used in this this particular virtual tour, if any of them is violating the limits. So if you click this, it will display the tags which are in alarm state. So if I click this, it will take me to that particular virtual tour or a scene where this tag is defined. Of course, a tag can appear in multiple places, but it will take you to the first place as we have configured. We'll see this later. So to enter this, if I click, it will open the living room, and now all the components that are configured are shown. And any of the tags which are defined here, for example, yeah, so this is defining a tag which is, if this is not violating any limits or this is not in alarm state, then it will remain static. Otherwise it will keep blinking. For example, here this tag is in alarm state as defined in the tags .txt file. So if you click on any component name, it's a meter, and if you click it again, it will again hide. So if there are 10 meters, you have to it will be defined as meter 1, meter 2, things like that, or any other name you can give. While configuring this, we will see that. Now from this, it's possible to navigate into the kitchen area, which is here. Either we can go from here. If I click this, it will take me to that kitchen area, and here also the components have been defined. The same components have been basically repeated. Just if I click to that living area, but it's possible to go back to the floor plan from this, and once again from here you can choose any other area to enter. So yeah, I think that's all. And if I click here, I go back to the main menu of list of all the systems. So I think that's all about this. Now we will just have a look at how the tours are to be configured. For that, as I explained, yeah, the tours are defined different scenes. Supposing this has got 2 or 3 panoramic images, you can have 10-20 images forming one virtual tour. And so there are 2 files which bind all these scenes and make up the virtual tour. So we will first, such thing is the tours.html. So basically each tour will have this file, and nothing has to be changed here. uh, so these are the files it will load, and the XML file that defines all the component configuration is linked here. And this file, if you open this tool.xml, so this contains the, the components, the configuration of all the components on the virtual tool. So its structure is XML tag has to be defined as scene name. So we first thing, which is the floor plan, we call it main grid, and yeah, and it contains there is no image. So this is just a grid function which is supported by KRPano tool, which just displays a grid. That is, if we open this is the grid which it displays by default without any image, and on top of that we have configured a PNG file, so which we will see here. Yeah, now we have defined lots of plugins there. So the status window, for example, status window is this component, so that has to be configured. So we have to give a unique name, status window. If you have multiple such windows, we have to make it unique. You have to make it status window 2 or whatever other name you want, you can give, but it should be unique within this scene. And this is the URL for the component which defines the status window, which is basically in folder there's a plugins. So these are all added as hotspots, because if I rotate this, the position of the component changes. So that is called hotspot. But in the first, the floor plan, we've got everything static. They don't change as we rotate the screen. So everything is configured. These are the hotspots. This is the floor plan PNG. Plan is an image file, and this is the zoom icon, which are the hotspot for navigating getting into that tour. Yeah. Okay. So this is the end of scene, the first scene, which is the floor plan screen, and this is the second scene, which is the living room, which we have to give a unique name, and it has got image, which is the 3D image example.jpg, and then on top of that we have configured these components. Again, this is added as a hotspot because it rotates with this with the scene. So yeah, basically these are component that you are defined in the documentation page. We have to just copy paste this and change some of the things. Main thing we have to change is the binding. Say bar tag, there is a bar component, and which is the ignition tag which is driving this. This is what we have to change. And the XY coordinates or polar coordinates. If it is a hotspot, we have to give ATH and ATV. These are the polar coordinates. You have to obtain it from using the cursor position symbol. Click on the exact place where you want to position the component and capture its coordinates and enter it here. Then this is a meter component. So all the components, one instance of that has been used in the demo project, and each instance is given a unique name. So within one scene, the names have to be unique, and its XY coordinates have to be unique, and the variable that is driving from ignition should be unique. Or if you give the same name, it will drive two different components. One ignition tag can drive multiple components. That's not a problem. So this is all for the second scene. Yeah, so this scene ends here. So we got the second scene is defined here, kitchen. That was the living area, and the very first was the top level scene, which was not really, it was just a floor plan. So again, we have defined this here. And another thing is, in order to navigate from one scene to the other, we can use a hotspot and call this function load scene, name of the scene. For example, we have given the name of this scene as kitchen, where the first one was living room. So if you call this KRPano function with the name of the scene that you want to load, so by clicking this hotspot, you load that scene. So basically it's a scripting language of KRPano. It's a very simple scripting language. So these are some of the things that you have to learn from KRPano homepage. You can get a documentation page, and it defines a whole lot of things that you can do with XML configuration. So it's actually a massive documentation. We'll be just using 5% of it. That's good enough, but you can really do very advanced stuff. Yeah, I think that's all about configuring the virtual tours. And yeah, so we'll recommend you to just play with it, try it out on your project. First, you can remove all the components. You can just load the scenes and navigate through that, and one by one then you can copy paste the components that you need from here onto your virtual tours. Yeah, there is It's also possible to, it's a couple of multimedia components also. Yeah, this is a, it's suppose a video. If I click a video, then it will open a video, and it also supports an HTML page. So it will open an HTML page uh, where you can also load a video or have a static text or images uh, to give explanation about and operation maintenance procedure for any equipment. So it can be a valuable tool for during your operation maintenance of the plant. In fact, you can even have it as an offline tool. That is, you need not have any of the components configured here. You can just have this multimedia uh, components, and you can build a walk using uh, the 3D images, and so that, and placing all such multimedia components and HTML pages for your training of your operators. So sitting in your control room, they can walk through into the whole plant and get themselves familiarized and read equipment, the documentation sitting at one place. So these are some of the advantages. But if you build it on online mode, they can also visualize, see the parameters. So in offline mode, it still uses the ignition server, but it's possible to also run it under NGSCADA, Node.js server, so that it can be configured completely independent of ignition. So that possibility is also there. What else? Yeah, and taking these images. Nowadays there are good cameras available, costing about $150 to $200, which are add-on to your Android mobile phones or iOS phones. You just insert them in your USB, and with a single click it gives you a 360 degrees image. Take 360. So one such camera is Air 360. You can do a Google search on the list of cameras that are supported nowadays. So one such tool is one such camera is Air 360, which is an ad which can be hooked on to Android phone, and your Android phone becomes a camera for taking 360 degree images in single click. Very high resolution images can be captured by yourself, or you can, a professional photographer can happily do the job for you.